Well, while we wait for some more folks to join, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, if you haven't already, please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know what organization, company, startup, venture, idea you're representing and what you're looking to learn from today's conversation. My name is Michelle Avalos. I am the Director of Operations at Impact Hub Houston, and you are helping us close out the Houston Innovation Summit. This is day 5 of the summit, and we still have several other events following this one. But thank you for taking some time to spend this afternoon with a group of social entrepreneurs that are really trying to make a difference in the world through entrepreneurship and are looking to refine their pitch presentation skills. And so we know that sometimes it's really difficult to really convey clearly and concisely your idea in a short amount of time, and pitch competitions can be overwhelming, and especially when they tell you, hey, by the way, do it in 3 minutes. So I've been there too, and even though you might be a good public speaker, but when someone's asking you to condense something in that amount of time and adding slides to it and walk me through your whole business in 3 minutes, that's pretty difficult. So today we've actually allotted 6 minutes to each of the ventures to present their solutions. And then after the presentations, they'll be receiving feedback from our guest mentor, Brandy Guidry. Brandy, welcome, and thank you so much for volunteering your time with us today. Would you like to say a couple of words of encouragement to welcome everyone?
Sure. For those of you presenting and those that are online, I applaud you for investing in yourself and taking the time out. As Michelle alluded to, it can be a little scary sometimes. They ask for an elevator pitch in 90 seconds. So you're in a safe environment. I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody, and I hope it's a learning experience for everyone else.
Thanks, Brandy. So with that, ladies and gents, we are going to kick it off with our first presenter, Ms. Lisbeth Taylor. She is the founder of Zently Workplace, and she's also one of our Impact Hub members. So Lisbeth, thanks again, and I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. I'm going to get my screen sharing here. Nice to see you guys. Let me get this up. All these fun tech things. All right, am I up?
Yes.
Is it there? Awesome. Okay. I was like, I can see it. Just got to make sure everyone else can. Awesome. Well, my name is Lisbeth. I am the founder and CEO, I like to say Chief Excitement Officer of Zently Workplace. We transform workplace well-being using tools of mindfulness and positive psychology through things like workshops, consulting, and then most recently, the MVP stage of our Zently Workplace app, which I'll be telling you guys a little bit more about. So Zently Workplace came to be because I was in oil and gas for about 10 years. And whereas I loved my job, I completely burnt myself out. At one point, I took 150 trips in 2 years. And the system was designed to reward myself overworking myself. And it wasn't out of malintent or anything, but the workplace just didn't know how to support and educate me on how to manage my own well-being. So I took a step back and I found some tools of mindfulness and yoga that really, really helped me. And when I was ready to step back into the corporate world, I realized that there were many, many people like me, and I wanted to bring something back into the workplace for people like me. And so I came back and I came up with Zently Workplace. And in the process, I really dug into why is this happening? What are we experiencing? And it turns out that my slides aren't going to move. Hold please. It turns out that my slides aren't moving. It turns out that this is a real problem in the workplace as it stands today. Oops, there we go. I guess it is going to move. This is a real problem in the workplace as it stands today. So the World Health Organization has actually classified this in the ICD-11 as a syndrome conceptualized resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. This is costing us billions of dollars and millions of workdays lost. Not only that, but it has also generated a brand new market, the meditation market and the leadership development market. We at Zently Workplace are actually combining the two together. So these numbers that you see here, we can actually have access to a larger market. And then these numbers don't actually even reflect the recent shift with the COVID pandemic, where employers are scrambling for resources for their employees to help manage well-being in a time of trauma, global trauma. When I first stepped back, I started really digging into what was happening in the workplace and what wasn't working. Why are we having these staggering numbers of burnout? And it's not for lack of people trying. They're throwing meditation and yoga at employees, but we're not really explaining how all of this applies to leadership and can be used as a strategy for business. And there's zero follow through or integration into the daily work life. So I went and talked to people at Cigna, at award-winning well-being programs like Baylor College of Medicine. I really dug in and found that these were some of the big problems that we were facing. But then I started looking at what does work. And I actually went back to grad school for this. And I found out that mindfulness is a proven stress reduction, research fact. And I found out that really we can use this as a strategy to maximize positivity. And what we know to be true about positive emotions is they actually can be stacked on each other to increase creativity so that we can strategically see more options available to us. So as we elevate EQ and IQ habit hacking, we can create sustainable, impactful change using the power of presence and mindfulness to truly empower innovation in the workplace. How we help with that is we do workshops and consulting to integrate into the workplace. But then our Zently app is really the consistent piece that's going to help develop. So we're in the MVP stage and we're focusing on what really matters is the emotional, physical, and communal well-being of the individual as well as the organization. Our advantages here is that we're focusing on sustainability. So this integrated long-term programming, positive design. We're not getting people addicted to technology. We're really rooting into the actual content versus getting addicted to like a ding on your watch. And we're really making this inclusive. So there's no step counts, no weight loss challenges. We want this to be inclusive to everybody. And the really great piece is we're educating on how this impacts leadership and using corporate social responsibility as a tool for engagement. So how that works is we use social impact as engagement incentive for employees. So they have monthly and weekly content, a broader theme where we really hone in the weekly. And as they interact with the app daily, they earn points, which are then converted to dollars to charity. How that works. So the per employee cost is around $18 per employee. They have the potential to earn back $10 a month for that. And then our minimum monthly earning then is per employee, $8 per employee per month. Our next stages is our beta test launch, which we've recently opened up. We'll launch that over the next 6 months, where we really get to dig into our metrics evaluation, how we want to gamify, do full tech review, and really hone in our target market audience, individual users or corporate users, what that's going to look like. And then content partners and added features. So right now, my big ask is we need partners. I need small to mid-sized companies or teams within larger organizations to co-create this change with us. University research partners would be phenomenal because we're going to get a lot of data from the built-in surveying of our content. This is our team, my Towerhouse Studios. We're actually former game developers. So they're really excited to get involved in this. And we'll be bringing 2 other interns on by January. We have free resources available that are going to be available throughout the holidays. So check those out. They're going to be available getting us through to the end of the year. And then we'll offer additional pandemic support. So those should be up within the next week or so. And that's Zently Workplace.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Great job. Over to you, Brandy.
Great. Thank you so much for that pitch. And I think Grace even put it in the chat. I love your new definition of CEO, Chief Excitement Officer. More of those in our lives. So I may steal that from you.
Please do. We need more excitement officers.
And I love that you started with your why, as far as, you were a person that had experienced some just overworking and how it was unhealthy, and you wanted to be part of the solution. So that's great. It's wonderful when founders can identify with whatever problem there is to try to provide a solution. And with you highlighting the actual social enterprise part of that, going to nonprofit, I think that's key, and that's great as far as with your reach, being able to do that. And I commend you also on the extensive research. The fact you're saying you went back to school to actually get the hard numbers. I come from a pretty robust corporate background, so numbers and metrics are key. And I think that's great that you broke that down also in the slides. Speaking of metrics, I was curious, you were talking about, you're looking for partners and to expand. And I was wondering with your target market, what specific locations or regions are you looking at as far as for progression into that traction?
Right. So initially, obviously, we're going to really start targeting local here because that's by reach as far as the easiest to access. But what's been really, really great about, I hate to say it this way, pardon my phrasing, what's been great about the pandemic is that I no longer have to convince people that this can be done online. Before this happened, I was actually really struggling to explain to people how this content can be done in a tech format. And there was actually a lot of there's in the mindfulness market, there's a lot of pushback as to using tech and mindfulness. And now those doors are broken down. So I'm really looking at starting in the US. Locally here, obviously, will be most of my contacts, but we can go across the US initially. And then I would like to expand internationally if it translates. The majority of my connections are Middle East and Southeast Asia and the UK. So the only reason those would be the initial targets is because that's where my contacts lie, but we're very open to other markets that would be available to it.
So what I would encourage you when you're looking at your target market, you have numbers for the US, if you can break that down specifically to local, so that way you can really look at, what's the total market, what you can address and serve. And then that'll also help with when you're mapping, doing your roadmap. Because I know you said a lot of people have end of year goals. I think that's a common theme, but I know for myself and what I advise for folks, look at stuff quarter to quarter, not just your financials, but also your milestones to meet and the traction. And
Perfect.
I saw also in your slide, I love that it's a 3-part solution. You have the app, you have the consulting and the website. And so that provides for multiple ways for people to engage. Are you looking, I see with Zently in the app and everything, is that what you're looking to really be, quote unquote, your cash cow and the big money and revenue driver?
That's really going to be I'm looking at it as the biggest revenue driver, mainly because I feel like it's ethically the most integrated piece. I love doing workshops and I love doing them, but just one workshop here or even quarterly isn't the most sustainable for a company. So honestly, whereas like those actually individually drive more money maybe in the moment, as an integrated piece, I'm trying to focus mostly on the app because that's actually what I believe that's going to create the most change.
Have you considered as far as how to put that 3-part solution together, whether it be a combined offering, or discounts, packages like that? Because that can help with different type of package offerings and pricing, and as you build out, because I see that you already have a component that goes out as far as to support, the nonprofit side, and then the $8 per employee per month with the app.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I have talked about them working together, but I haven't put together like an actual package on that. So thank you.
Yeah, that could be something, and just layering out based off of what the consultants provide, what you have with the app, what can complement each other, things like that. I had a question also as far as who have you identified as far as your competition? I know you mentioned that there's ways, and I think it's great you focus on the CSR, corporate social entrepreneurship. We need more of that and responsibility. Sorry for the CSR part, but really looking at not only locally, but like you said, you'd like to have a global reach, your competition for this market.
So what's really interesting about the competition is because we kind of hit 2 different markets, like the leadership market and the meditation app market, is that we don't actually have like a true competitor that has really blended workplace and mindfulness that has this type of technology. So the only competitors that really kind of move into that are like Search Inside Yourself Leadership, which is a Google designed programming, but they don't have an integrated piece as far as that go. They've developed coaches. And then we're competing with like, if you want to say like Headspace for work, Calm for work. But what's really great about those is we actually encourage use of those in the programming. So they're not really like a competitor because they mostly just do meditations. So they don't do the actual integrated piece of how does this work in leadership. So I haven't found a true competitor that kind of fully blends the two together, that is specifically designed for workplace well-being. Most of them, kind of like I said in our story, of what isn't working is we're just throwing lots of different things at people and not integrating them. So I haven't found a true competitor that kind of ticks all of these boxes. Instead, we kind of have these offliers of where people are still spending money though. So we do get some of the offshoot of, well, we're already spending money here or there. So in that sense, they become a competitor if they're drawing funds.
So what you said, that's actually a differentiator, the fact that nobody's doing that combined. So you actually can create a competitor slide. And I've done this to where it shows like, hey, Calm and everybody else, that even, I wouldn't so much recommend people to go to them, but like outlining, in this space is where we compete. And then maybe on another level, some other companies compete, but combined, you haven't seen that. And sometimes it is that it's somebody overseas to where it is, or they're just in the infancy stage, or it could be a partner, or even considering, if there's a type of modular or partnership to where if two companies combined, that can be your partner. Because we see a lot of M&A coming on, and then, all companies are kind of in survival mode. So they're trying to figure out how to do less with more, even though that's not something we recommend, but, the times have changed. And I know you're talking about just trying to figure out, you said you're kind of throwing things out. Have you looked at your metrics or trend analysis to see, what is getting most traction? What are you getting the most feedback on? Or even like some voice of customer, just kind of help determine what direction you should take?
We're hoping that we're going to get that through the beta test. So the beta test round is really going to be about getting that, because we don't have a ton of metrics around like the online content piece. I've been doing a lot of the individual classes and workshops for feedback, but as far as how it works in the electronic content, that'll all come from the beta test.
Great. And, I appreciate that you said right now your ask is for partners. A lot of people think I have to immediately ask for money or crowdfunding. So it's great that you're focused to build your team and have those functional experts. And so for when you're ready to go and talk to friends and family, sometimes people say, and fools, and crowdfunding, you can have that ask. And I would recommend, having an itemized breakdown as far as how that money will be spent over time, and aligning that to your respective roadmap and your schedule. That way they have a clear view of what that looks like. And then obviously once your MVP is completed, you can have some better numbers and goals around that.
Awesome. Thank you.
So in general, so now thinking separate from Zently and just thinking to the general entrepreneurial audience, when you get to that piece of your analysis, how do you decide what to include, what not to include, but also from like what frame of mind should you be approaching that question even?
So I think first people have to look at what you initially have. And, if you initially want to service this market or this area, and look at that immediate competition, but you also have to be mindful of your growth. A lot of times people are looking, especially for investors, that 3+ year plan. And so if you don't have something as a framework with looking at what your competition would be over the next year, then, that's something you need to address. And I would advise for anybody, because I've seen a blend of startups to where, I should say their blend is that they were looking at a brick and mortar and an app, but the pandemic forced the app to move up first. So you have to be ready to, I figured that. I had a feeling. And so you have to be ready to pivot and shift and adjust and know it's unfortunately kind of moving target. And, and that's why you have to really look at different stages or types of competitors, because there's the app competition, there's a brick and mortar, there's different pieces. And, I always say add some cushion time when you're looking at these deliverables and a milestone, because lately I've been seeing at least 2 extra months added on to meeting those. And it's just because of the economy and the stage we're at right now, just across the world.
Thank you, Brandy. So with that, guys, we'll go ahead and transition to our next presenter. So up next, we have Andrew Carnavas with Just Add Beats. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew Carnavas. I'm the founder and CEO of Yop Records, a creative audio agency here in Houston. my background is very similar to the students that I'll talk about today, as far as having to make adjustments in my career pathway. I've started as an English major. I was very passionate about music, started a band, started touring as a musician, and that transitioned into starting my own audio agency where I write music for ads, for games, and produce my own albums. And during that time, over the last from 2015 or 2005 to 2015, I noticed the decline in the cost of audio recording technology and the ability to record a hit song on a school computer. And so it occurred to me that it was time for students to have the ability to create their own audio works using professional tools so that they can envision a future that's creative for them, that consists of tools that are within reach for them to use. So Just Add Beats is a program where we have students who work in groups of 3 as creative audio agencies using creative audio workstations to complete real-world creative audio design challenges in beat making, podcasting, and sound design. So they're role-playing for the future as their own small companies that they name, and they have to complete all of these different challenges that are aligned with career pathways like music producer, digital storyteller, and sound designer. So typically, before the pandemic, we would bring all of the equipment you see here to the schools. So we have a computer, audio interface, microphone, headphones, headphone amp, and the MIDI controller. And the students work in person. So for a lot of them, most of them, they're getting access to this equipment for the first time. After the pandemic, we've shifted into a virtual model where the students are still able to create their own audio projects using a multi-track recording session that can be used on a tablet, a phone, or a PC. So the students are still able to collaborate in session together. We still have the real world audio design challenges, and they're still receiving instruction from a person who has an audio design background as well as a teaching background. This is this audio design process that our students go through where they're creating sounds, recording, and mixing and editing in this process where they're going through several times before they're finally able to distribute their sound. For students who finish professionally recorded songs that they would like to put on Spotify or Apple Music, we help them with the distribution process to do that. Otherwise, in the context of the program, distribution is just sharing your work with the class. So we might be designing a ringtone for NASA using the NASA Sound Library, and the students will download those sounds and they'll create a ringtone, and then we'll play it together at the end of class. Our larger impact vision is the student to mentorship pathway, where we have students working with us in education from grades 2 through 12. That's where we first meet them. And then as they're getting older, we can offer internship opportunities during the summer where they're co-teaching with us with the younger children in grades 2 through 6. And then the high school students that are looking for year-round work, we offer apprenticeship programs and hopefully phasing into entrepreneurship and other employment opportunities with future partners. So that's really what we're looking for right now, are more partners to help us place some of these students who are highly skilled in digital media and continue their local impact. For example, 2 of our students produce a 10-episode podcast series about student life for the Harris County Department of Education, and they did this during the pandemic. So they started in person, like you can see here, but then after COVID hit and the students were distributed in their homes, they were able to continue working and to continue completing that podcast, proving to them that if you have the right skills, you can continue to work during a pandemic. Our future impact is we're looking to create more of our design challenges, to co-create those with real-world brands and artists, and develop an online marketplace where people could purchase the music or license the music that the kids are using. So keeping in touch with our students over a longer arc than a traditional after-school program that is just trying to teach something to the kids that's fun for a few minutes or a semester and then moving on to the next cohort of students. We're really looking for long-term impact with our students in ways that they can be financially stable in the future and continue to build the skills that we've initiated with them. We're also looking for more digital media job placement opportunities, such as that podcast that we did with the Harris County Department of Education, and then perks and resources from affiliate partners. So if you have any schools, know anyone in grades 2 through 12 that would be interested in Just Add Beats, you can contact us at justaddbeats.com, and my email is andrew@yaprecords.com. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I'm a music lover, so that definitely got my attention there. I think we're all listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff with the digital age, so that's great. And I appreciate that you're doing work with the youth and, even trying to set up a career path for them. I heard you mention a podcast or something for NASA. Are they a partner or somebody you've looked at, or what's the situation?
NASA has an online library of sounds called the NASA Sound Library. And so we downloaded that entire library. It's free for anyone to use. So the way that they describe it is it's their opportunity to have a conversation with the rest of the world about what they've done. So we take sounds from NASA, and then the kids make beats and ringtones using those sounds. So you might have the JFK's "We Choose the Moon" speech, and then the kids are adding their beats over it. So giving them an opportunity to do that. And we have also sent those sounds to the Jet Propulsion Lab from NASA. So they've heard the sounds and they've sent the kids feedback on those kinds of things. So that is the sort of thing that we're looking at towards the future, which is if we were able to have some notable artists or brands introduce those audio design challenges, that would be something. And then having the students' work featured in a real world campaign is the ultimate goal of where I see where you're really translating those student skills to something real world that they created.
Yeah. That's something I would definitely highlight, because since we are in the Houston area, NASA is so big, and we have the museum and different things. If you haven't already reached out to them, I would encourage that, because you never know, somebody could be doing a tour and then the students, music and beats and everything are played over there. So there's different ways to explore that partnership with there. And also, I had a question as far as for the online marketplace and the job placement. What dates do you have in mind, and what does your roadmap look like as far as reaching those specific goals?
So we've been fortunate to be in the Close the Gap program with Impact Hub Global, and that's a partnership with Adidas. So I was on a call this morning talking to Adidas about how we would go about doing those kinds of initiations with a large brand like them. And they were saying that lead time on those kinds of projects can typically take like 6 months for a more comprehensive campaign. So, but I think we would be ready to do something like that probably within the next 6 months, 6 to 8 months, because we have to go through and we have some archives of past student work, but making sure that we have that all in a place that's easy to view and easy to pitch to different companies would be the thing that we'd have to keep building.
Yeah, I would encourage you to highlight those dates and respective partnerships and things you're looking at, or even some traction. Because sometimes, whether it be that you have a nonprofit side or you haven't generated revenue yet, just showing, the noise that's been made and being able to annotate that, like that's something too, because that way people can see like, oh, okay, there's some interest here. So you got some callbacks, so to speak, things like that. So that's something I would suggest to highlight there too, as you're going along with your journey and, sharing this opportunity to people.
Thank you. Yeah, I did forget to mention, we reach about 250 students per year right now in the Houston area. And that's something that we're looking to grow. And hopefully in the virtual space, we have really two markets. Traditionally, we've been partnering with nonprofit organizations in Houston and public school districts to distribute our programming. And in the future, now that we're more virtual, we're sort of looking at that business to consumer model too, where if there's just a parent who wants to create audio works with their kid, if they want to record family stories and they want to learn how to do that, we would be a place that they could interact with for that curriculum.
That's what I was going to ask you as far as your users and reach, because this is something even never know, the mayor's office might be interested in, and I'm not sure if you're looking at just HISD or what school districts, but I know a lot of there's opportunities within the Title I schools, particularly for those respective ages, and leveraging those organizations that support. And there might be some corporations that they have some interest there, or specifically if there's companies doing in-kind donation that are relate to that career path, that might be another opportunity for some partnerships.
Thank you. Yeah, I am really curious about a lot of the different programs like Hire Houston Youth, for example, and how we could push things into the digital media job positions for some of these students, because they are really skilled. They're learning a lot of great things, and it's just kind of that last piece is getting them, where we have those partners in that slide I was showing you with the entrepreneurship piece.
And specifically schools that have a STEAM part. So I've added the A for arts there because a lot of them have that element. So I would, we have a lot of schools in that area that have that component, or even have academies related to that. So that would be an area to look at. I had another question, since it was brought up about competition and market, what does it look like for you for that, as far as other people with the same mission are doing this?
Sure. Yeah, there are a couple different ways you can think about competition. If you think about it in a more general sense, it would really be any after-school program would be a competitor with us, because you have typically with a nonprofit organization like, for example, we've worked with Urban Enrichment Institute or Hype Freedom School. They are interested in an array of service providers. And so we're in direct competition with groups that do hip hop dance or hula hooping. So it's just a matter of there's a clear differentiator between hula hooping and what we're doing. But it really starts with, for us, a lot of the things that we do are being able to offer free demos for the students, whether that's virtually or in person, so that the site can get a sense of how their kids are interacting with what we're doing. There are some really cool programs in Houston that are doing things around ELA for using hip hop and ELA, like Reading with the Rapper, for example. Where I think we're different is that we are very focused on that career pathway and making sure that the skills that the kids are learning are all clearly illustrated, that they're aligned with existing career pathways. So I think we're doing that better than our competitors. One of the other reasons why I started the program is because I used to teach creative writing through Writers in the Schools. And one of the things we could always tell the kids is that as soon as you start writing, you're writing like a professional. And I really wanted that to be true for what we were doing too. And that's why the students are using the actual software that I use to create professional music and that other artists use too. So it's clearly within reach for them when they start to learn how to use those technologies.
I think if you can incorporate, because you've really been building and explaining your story, and a lot of times you can captivate an audience, potential partners, investors by the story. So if you can incorporate more of that, and then even show and provide some feedback, even if it's just some commentary from the youth, or if you have a video because since it's for them to see how it's impacting them and it's been beneficial to them, and just to show how everybody plays a part in it, I think that can really help and add some value as well. And there's a lot of partners and people you've worked with or even reached out to. It sounds like you can have that captured and reflected in the presentation. So I would advise, plug that, highlight that, milk that, use that as much as you can, because you never know when somebody sees, a logo or name, how that might, flip the switch for them, or they might say, hey, I know somebody, or I can help you get in touch or build a deeper relationship there.
Thanks. That's really helpful. Yeah, I think right now at the stage that we're in is doing more customer pitches than investor pitching right now, similar to what Elizabeth was saying earlier. So hopefully we're getting our ducks in a row and figuring out what our ask is going to be moving forward and building those platforms. But yeah, we have definitely recorded video and with our students and done interviews and testimonials and things like that. So that's something that we're looking to expand, and we've actually hired some of our first students that have gone all the way through high school with us that are staying and going into audio at HCC to run our social media and to help us be young and cool with that.
You should know that, because you're highlighting from, the early education through higher ed, and to show that path, and, you're already setting up that career path. So even if it's not necessarily full-time work, but just for you bringing them back to just show how that model works, so to speak, that you're talking about.
So thank you all so much. That's great feedback. And I have a question, but I'm going to save it for the last one. But Andrew, and what you were just talking about, how this particular pitch is it wasn't necessarily for investors. And so there's also that conversation around the type of pitch and you can have 10 different pitches, it depends on who your audience is. And so if we can get to that, a little bit about that as well, Brandy, that would be really helpful for the audience. Sure. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and thanks again, Andrew, Just Dead Beats, another wonderful Impact Hub Houston member. Up next, we have our final presenter of tonight, Maria Burgos, who is the founder of Trendy Seconds. Maria, over to you.
Hi, my name is Maria Burgos, and I'm the founder of Trendy Seconds, the Google Shopping for secondhand fashion. This pandemic changed everything. And hopefully by now, finally, we understand that we need to be more conscious in everything we do, because it has an impact on others. This includes our shopping habits. Did you know, for example, that it takes 700 gallons of water to make one new t-shirt? And despite this, over the last 15 years, we basically duplicated the size of our closets, mainly driven by fast fashion, meaning good-looking clothes, cheap prices, and poor quality. Sadly, nowadays, what happens is that over 60% of the new clothes manufactured for this country every year end up in a landfill, because we adopted a culture of overconsumption and easy throwaway. When I understood this, I needed to do some changes. So I decided to start considering buying secondhand clothes. But when I went online to do this, I realized that shopping this category feels like a time-consuming treasure hunt, because you have to go through literally thousands of items at sites like ThredUp and Poshmark and The Real to find things that you really like. So after a lot of browsing, I ended up frustrated and I didn't buy anything. So actually now I understand that this is a very common problem, because over 90% of millennial women, even though they spend on average 1 hour browsing when they are shopping online, actually 60% of them don't buy anything at that point, because they have so many choices that psychologically, this is a showstopper. This is the reason why I created Trendy Seconds, to help women like me easily find and buy good quality secondhand clothes online. Trendy Seconds is a website where you can search through different secondhand marketplaces at once, but it only brings you a curated recommendation of items based on your preferences, allowing you to mix and match different pieces, get recommendations to complete your look, and pay for everything in one simple transaction. So instead of going to eBay and look for a t-shirt and then repeat the whole process on Poshmark to find a skirt, you can come to Trendy Seconds and have it all in one place. And if you're not sure about what to look for, you can easily browse our categories where we'll have different outfits and trends to help you decide. Since we are in the middle of the marketplaces and the shoppers, we don't manage any physical inventory. And our business model has two different streams of revenue. The first one is coming from the marketplaces. We will take a percentage of the sales by affiliating to their already existing marketing programs. And the second stream comes from the shopper. They will pay a fee, either per transaction or per year, in exchange of a seamless and fun secondhand shopping experience. The secondhand clothing segment in the US is on track to reach over $60 billion in the next 4 years. And more interesting is the fact that the online segment is growing at a much faster pace than traditional offline secondhand and retail combined. Our specific market are millennial women, and it's valued at $1.3 billion for next year, and is expected to grow sales and share of market. We are currently running an A/B testing with Google Ads and pricing to see what is it that this potential customer is willing to pay for the service. There's a lot of different marketplaces out there online where you can go and find secondhand clothes. However, there's still no aggregator on the space. So Trendy Seconds will be in the middle of all of them, not only aggregating, but also curating and styling the products to make it easier for the shopper. Our next step is prototyping, and we are currently looking for a fashion stylist. So if you know anyone, please let me know. I'm ready to tackle this next professional challenge by leveraging my sales and marketing experience and mix it with my passion for entrepreneurship to make this happen. I really want to build a business where I can help women save time and money and the environment. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. That was awesome. I think you hit on at least 2 or 3 sustainable development goals you're trying to hit. You know, the one that you said about with the water, with the 700 gallons, I said, oh my, I didn't know about that fact. That's making me rethink some things. So I think that's great when you hit home with leading with that and thinking about your why and the problem and highlighting the metrics. And that metric is specifically about, the abandoned cart percentage that is high. And I think a lot of people don't realize how that can affect the business. And, if you're trying to figure out why there's an abandoned cart issue, I think that's key and that can help with businesses. So when you talked about the selection mode, so basically clientele can set up a profile, is that correct? And selections will be based off of that?
Yeah, so basically at the beginning, for the MVP and the prototype, it's going to be based out of a questionnaire. So it's very simple because I don't want to overwhelm with that as well. And long term, the idea is to have a customized experience based on everybody's profile. So yes, okay, it'll be personalized.
So I saw with the trendy side, and you had even the 80s in there. So I like that. That's fun. Have you considered maybe having rotating trends? Or are you going to just stick to a certain area?
Absolutely rotating trends. Okay. That's kind of the experience and bringing the fun online. Mm-hmm. Currently, right now, pretty much every online shop is doing the same with the categories and the recommendations. So I want to change that as well. And the difference is that, the secondhand market has been kind of in the back seat for a long time, and now is having a momentum. So I want to bring all of the new technologies and fun experiences to this segment.
So are you thinking about doing that seasonally, once a quarter, or have you looked at, what that number would be?
Yes. So it'll be by season, at least at the beginning, and then we'll see. For example, there's a lot of trends going on right now with the pandemic, with that work from home category, which was something that didn't exist before. So that's kind of what I want to bring to the brand. The actuality of what's going on in our lives, despite of the trends of the clothes. It's the categories will be built more around certain activities, and it is very fun because we actually can cherry pick whatever we want from everybody else's marketplace.
So you said you have 2 streams of revenue. Can you review back the second one? I know with the first one you said you take percentage sales from the other marketplaces. What was the second one again?
From the shopper, they will pay a fee.
Okay. The shopper.
Yes.
Okay.
So as of now, I think of having two types of fees. One is per transaction, and the other one will be if that person shops a lot, instead of paying recurrently, that person can pay a flat fee per year for unlimited uses.
That's what I was going to ask, if you had like subscription type fees, or even if, referrals, somebody could get a discount for that, or discount off the next order, or maybe the membership. So that way you could look at that, because you see so much with social influencers now, and, people are looking at, what do their friends buy? Not so much necessarily, what is out there. So people are really paying attention to what is not only out there on the market, but what their friends are saying. So
Yes.
that might be an incentive or a different way to bring in people, and especially for your early adopters and the mavens, so to speak.
Yes, that's a great advice. And definitely we are looking into social aspects to it.
Yeah, so I would definitely say the social media push with this would be huge and big, looking at those different outlets, and even seeing if it's like, a pop-up type, launch and different things, just to have a teaser and look at, how you can gain traction and get some feedback from there. Because I know you said you're doing your testing, and I think it's great you have that market analysis broken down with total addressable market, target, and everything. And you're not trying to jump far too ahead, just saying just because there's, billion-dollar market or multi-million-dollar market, that you can automatically capitalize on a high percentage of that. We have to crawl before we walk, and pay some for that.
Yes.
So with that testing, how long are you doing that analysis and getting that feedback? How long is that study going to take place?
So it's been running for over a month now, and I just want a clear winner. So I'm getting there. And once I have it, I think I do, but I'm letting it run a bit. And that's all my goal. And I mean, as of now, I have subscribers. I have 3 different landing pages. And my objective is to get subscribers and see which price point gets the most subscribers. So I've gotten subscriber on all 3. So, which is kind of surprising, to be honest, but it's a good news. So, but the clear winner is the lower price point. But then again, the people are not seeing which other options they got. So.
Yeah. And with a lower option, for entry rate, that automatically means you're going to have to generate more volume. So you have to look at, your different pricing options to see, do you want to focus on just a volume, or are you looking at, higher ticket items or specialty items, luxury items, things like that, because we see that whether it be at consignment shops, different places, even some of our bigger retailers are even doing, high-end luxury resale.
Right.
Have you thought about, as far as if any of these other marketplaces were to make a change or merge, like how that could affect the market or competition for you?
So right now, the biggest competitor is ThreadUp. They are having a lot of merge with big retail companies, but they are actually offering their platform to these big retails like Macy's to sell their secondhand stuff. So they have a lot of partnership there. However, as I see it, I want to become a partners with them because I want to boost their sales. I want to tap into market that is not considering secondhand right now because of lack of awareness and because of the inconvenience of having to spend all that time. So that's kind of where I see myself with them. So I don't want to steal people from them. I want to actually get more people into this category.
Yeah, well, I would highlight that, and especially if you have an exit strategy in mind, there's nothing wrong with putting that up there. So, because a lot of times we tell people think about the end in mind, and you can back up to that and look at where you are. And as far as you said you're looking for a fashion stylist, have you looked at even some of the respective universities or people in school, just to see how you can get some potential people coming in as far as options?
So I actually am looking at some potential fashion advisor. I'm working with her, looking at several Instagram accounts. I'm reaching out to some of them and coming up with a strategy about, because I actually want to have different points of view. I find that most interesting. So I don't want to marry with just one person, but with several of them, and maybe change them by the season or make them do different wardrobes according to styles. So yes, I'm looking for one right now, but I'm in the middle of all of this analysis to see the strategy and who could be a good fit for the MVP.
That would be key, because with your go-to-market strategy, you do have to look at not only pricing, how you're going to launch, where your partners, and keep all those things in mind. And even, with, if you have a soft launch, and then, with the progression over the years. And like I said, even if you have an exit strategy as far as major partner, or even, merging with somebody else.
Right. That's great advice. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And that's all the time we actually have for the questions. But great job, Maria. And again, thank you all to our entrepreneurs who decided to pitch today. Thank you to Andrew, to Lisbeth and Maria, and Brandy. Thank you so much for providing that feedback to us. And we'll have to set up another session to really dig a little bit deeper into all those, what are those best practices for pitching. So everybody, please stay tuned. We will email you information about that upcoming event. But any last takeaway from your end, Brandy, that we can all walk away with?
Again, I commend everybody. There's some great pitches. I love that there was different perspectives as far as the stages for the social entrepreneurs. And again, kudos for getting through this. And hopefully I've been able to give you some things to think about. And, I'm excited to see what the progression will be like over the next coming quarters.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and head on over to innovationsummit.com to attend some more events. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.